Hi there and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm IceMan and today we're going to do a different video than what I've done before. We're not doing a champion guide, we're not doing a shard pool, we're not even doing a deep dive into HP champions and the like. Today we're going to cover something that is very intrinsic and important to the game overall. Now this information is out there for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't know the information still, funnily enough. It's one of those things that if you find it, you know it. If you don't, you kind of know the basics, but you don't know the details. So what are we talking about? Well, today we're talking about, tonight's video is welcome to the Affinity Triangle. What is the Affinity Triangle? Well, it's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows if anything's coming out of it. No, it's not that mysterious, to be honest. But anyway, so basically the Affinity Triangle at its most basic is the 4 affinities in game. Now, why am I doing a whole video on this? It's not even necessarily going to be a long video, but well, this is me, so I'll probably manage to drag it out. We know what I'm like. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I tend to belabore things a little bit, or belabor. How you pronounce it, I don't know. I'm British, I can't talk. We invented the language, we still can't speak it. So, anyway, right. So basically, the Affinity Triangle, if you're completely new to the game, you may not know this at all. Although they do cover it in the starter parts, I believe. Is magic, spirit, force. With void in the middle. Now what does that mean? And it's even set out like a triangle. So what that basically means is magic is strong against spirit, spirit is strong against force, and force is strong against magic. And the reverse is true. So magic is weak against force, force is weak against spirit, spirit is weak against magic. And sat in the middle there is void. Void is weak nor strong against anything. It suffers no penalties or gets no gains. That's the way of it. So what does it actually mean though? I mean, I've known that all the time I'm playing. You know, this is strong against that, that's strong against that. And that's as much as it goes. But what does it actually mean? Right. So what it actually means is, in a battle, if the attacker has an affinity advantage, that means they're strong, yeah? They have a 30% chance of a skill landing a strong hit. An extra 15% chance of a skill landing a critical hit. And that's huge. So you think, if you're just normal, if you're spirit against spirit, or spirit against void, whatever you want to do, you're equal. There's no affinity advantage. It's just basic. There's no strong things. But if you're strong, if you're spirit against force, or force against magic, magic against spirit, you've got a 30% chance of landing a strong hit. And you have an extra 15% chance of a skill landing a critical hit. Which technically means that when you're going up against people who are weaker than you, you can actually have lower crit. You don't always want to have that. You don't want to build your champions out for that, because you're not always going to get B against these people. But it does mean, if you've not managed to get those champs up to 100%, you're stuck at 85, or you're stuck at 90, or you're stuck at 1 point short, as I tend to be far too often, as so many of us are. When you're against a weak affinity to you, you're strong against them, you've actually got an extra 15% chance. So your crit rate is actually over 100% at this point. Right? That's standard, because they're weak against you. If the attacker has an affinity disadvantage, you're weak against this person. What does it mean? It means your damage is automatically reduced by 20%. 20%, that's huge. When attacking against a weaker target. And it's why, say in the arena, arena's a prime example, in fact. Let's bring this up so that I can show you. Right. We're going to go to an arena battle. We're actually going to go into the battle as such. We're going to go through. We're going to find a team to fight. They're not even a necessarily strong team to fight. In fact, they're a much weaker team to fight. But they're a good example, right? So here we have a team that is green and blue. So what does that mean? It means if I want to be strong or neutral, I would not pick Envato as I have here at the current. I would, and that's the thing I love about my teams at the moment. I've got this basic team of these 3 champions I always use, and then I slot in a different DPS depending on the affinity I'm facing to give me that advantage every time. So in this case, I would use a blue affinity because there is nobody there that is forced, so I'm not going to be weak against anybody. I'm either going to be neutral or I'm going to be strong. I'm only going to be strong against one. I mean, you could argue the point that you'd be worth going force and then you are strong against 3 and weak against 1. It's up to you. You need to trial and error it, see which you find works best for yourself. But for me personally, I tend to go no weak affinity for me if I can. That's the way I build my teams. That's the way I launch an attack. You can't always do that. Sometimes you might go against a team that's got one of everybody, at which point you're going to be weak against somebody. That's just the way of the game. Okay, so that's showing you with that. So you've got damage reduced by 20%. That's huge. Yeah, that's a huge number. That's the difference between killing somebody and not killing somebody, especially in somewhere like Arena. You also have a 35% chance of getting a weak hit. Something to think about here. A chance of a skill landing as a critical hit is reduced by 15%. So you could be at 100% crit rate. And when you're facing one of these champions that you're weak against, actually you're only at 85. You haven't got 100% crit chance. So there's a good chance you're going to hit a normal hit. So what are the hit types? We've got a weak hit. It decreases the damage by 30%, including all bonuses, and does not activate certain effects. For example, shield. Exceptions to this are damage and heal abilities. However, like I say, so if you get a weak hit, your damage is automatically reduced by 30. Now the fact that you're already reduced by 20 against a weak affinity, if these stack, and I don't know that they do, I'm not saying that, but there's from anecdotal evidence from playing the game, I'd say there's a good chance of it. If you get a weak hit against an opponent that you are weak against, you're losing 50% of your damage. 50%. That's massive, absolutely massive, and that's why you need to be thinking about the affinities when you're going up against teams in any area of the game, be it dungeons, Doom Tower, Faction Wars, or Arena. This can be the difference between getting through a fight and not getting through a fight. Even in campaign, it can be the difference between making it and not making it. Yeah? So, a normal hit, the damage a champion deals is just the basic output of the skill. This type of hit offers no advantages or disadvantages, as it sounds. A strong hit, it deals an extra 30% damage. So when you're against somebody that you are strong against, i.e. I've done here, I'm only strong against 1, so this is where you could argue that I would actually be better off taking out Astralon here and say going for Abyss. Quite often I use Xavier these days, but Abyss or Xavier, they're both great damage dealers. And they're both force affinity nukers for me. So with these guys, I'm now strong against, if I point over there so you can actually see it, I'm now strong against 3 of the champions there, and I'm weak against 1. You could argue that that's a benefit. Against those 3 champions, I've now got a chance of getting a strong hit. A 30% chance, mind you. It's not a huge chance, but a 30% chance of getting a strong hit. And if I do get a strong hit, I deal an extra 30% damage. Again, that's huge. That is big. It's not something small. It's not something to scoff at. It's something to really consider in building your teams, who you're facing off against. Prime example of this, I use it all the time, is 3v3 arena. Look at the teams you're facing against and try and make sure that you're generally strong against them and not weak against them. Or if you are weak, you're only weak against, say, one champion or something. And if that one champion happens to not really be a damage dealer, all the better. It's going to take you a little bit longer to maybe get them down because you're not going to be doing strong hits on them, but at least they're not going to be coming back at you and doing masses of damage. Right, so that's something to really think about. Critical hit. It deals an extra load of damage equal to the critical damage stat. So your critical hit needs to hit, then your crit damage comes into play. If a skill does, for example, 100 damage by default and you have a 200% crit damage, you'll deal 300 damage on a critical hit. Now, we're just going to pause it there and I'll actually show you this little chart I'm looking at because I think this is really useful. Right, so now you're seeing what I'm seeing. You're not currently seeing me. Or at least I'm not seeing me. I may well be there for all I know. Hidden behind this screen. There we go. You can look at that pretty face once again. And hearts are breaking across the world at the fact that I'm a taken man. I know. It's a lot to take in. Anyway, this is the chart we're looking at. So, an affinity disadvantage gives you a minus 20 damage, 20% damage, minus 15% crit rate, which means you're even less likely, and a 35% chance to get a weak hit. The disadvantage is actually stronger than the advantage when you look at this. A weak hit also means you're getting 30% less damage, so you're already getting 20, so that's definitely, I'd say, 50% less damage if you get a weak hit. Cannot activate skill based debuffs unless specifically stated otherwise in the skill description. So what do they mean by that? That's you've got these abilities that place an ability. You don't need to get a strong hit to do it. Weak hits do not activate abilities. So if you've got decreased defense but it doesn't have any places or any caveats that allow it to land, if you get a weak hit, that ability is not landing and you're not getting the benefit out of it. Again, it's huge, it's massive, it's tremendously big, this. Neutral affinity, you don't have a strong chance to hit, you don't have a weak chance to hit, and you don't get any benefits or penalties. It's your bog standard damage. So if you think about it, on a neutral affinity, you build these champions with all this crit damage, right? Now, I think you can still crit, so you still can do crit damage to these champs, but you're not going to get any bonus to it. So that's why we build champs for 100%. And if you have 100%, you can still do your crit damage and get that 300 hit, but you can't on a weak hit. Or at least you can again, but, well, not on a weak hit, you're not going to. On a weak hit, it's going to be so minimal damage you're wanting to cry, you know. The affinity advantage, as you can see, is already smaller than the affinity disadvantage. You get a plus 15 crit rate, which is great, and you get a plus 30 strong hit chance. And on a strong hit, you also do plus 30% damage, which is even more damage on top of your crit damage if you've managed to get a critical hit already. Yeah. So, like I said, this isn't going to be a long video, guys, but it is probably, to my mind at least, one of the most important videos I've ever put out. And I don't think enough YouTubers, content creators, whatever you want to call us, I don't think we concentrate on this enough. I mean, people talk about it, but I don't think anybody really highlights it enough and says to people, you need to pay attention to this. This is such a big part of the game. In other games, it might not be, or at least not to this degree, but in this game, it's easy to say, and I've known this for a long time, I'm weak against that, I'm strong against that. But this video is here to tell you what that actually means. What is being weak against the meaning? What is being neutral against the meaning? And what is strong against the meaning? And it just goes to show, if you can be strong against most of the people that you're hitting against, you're going to take them down a lot quicker. You've got a plus 30% damage boost, plus 15% crit rate boost. If you're not already at 100% crit rate, that means you're more likely to get that full-on crit rate and then do your crit damage. It means that when you do, you're also going to get another 30% damage boost. It's huge, guys. It's huge. It really is. Anyway, like I said, this is not a long video. 16 minutes, probably one of my shortest. Just to bring you this and this alone. This is the Affinity Triangle. This is something to keep in mind at all times when playing this game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that this was a good video and more people should watch it. If you like my content, please hit that subscribe button. It means more to you, more to me, not more to you, more to me than you could ever know, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate those who watch my videos regularly. Thank you to all of you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.